Hey, Craig, welcome back to the Free Speech Cage.
Hi, Max. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me back here.
So, I think today we're going to talk about the Tennessee Seven. Is that correct?
Right. Tennessee 7 sounds like, a record album or a gang or something, but it's actually a district in West Central Tennessee that had a special election this past week that everyone in American politics was looking at as a harbinger of what's to come in 2026.
Right. And so we have some slides. So you're going to
Yeah,
take
of course.
take
So
us
let's
through.
let's look at the first one here, and you can just see where Tennessee 7 is. It's, as you can see, it's in the west central part of Tennessee. And Tennessee is a solidly red state. This is a solidly red district. I think Trump carried it by roughly 22 percentage points in 2024. It's got Nashville in it, which one wouldn't expect Nashville to
Right.
be red, but otherwise it's a very red district.
Right.
And so we have a special election because the congressional seat got vacated. So the next slide shows you the six people who are running for the Democratic primary. Five of them lost, obviously, and one person won. And the only woman running, she was a former indivisible organizer and so forth. She wasn't a completely fresh face to politics. She won. So she went on, the next slide goes, she went on to run against the Republican in the general. And the general was in this past week, I think was December 2nd or 3rd.
So just to point out, the Republican is the guy on the left, right?
Right. So you got a white male Republican running against a white male Democrat. And they both have names, but the point here isn't to give them.
You mean white female Democrat?
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
The point isn't to give them names. The point is we're using this as a proxy to what can we learn from this race? If you take all the personalities and stuff out of it, what does this race tell us for 2026? So the next slide will give you some ideas of what we might have been looking at. So right before the race, you've got this poll, and it says of likely voters and people who are already voted because they have early voting, you've got 48% going for Van Epps and 46% going for Aftyn Behn, the Democratic candidate, right? That's a 2% difference, well within the margin of error. Anyone looking at this is going to say, man, this thing's going to be close. This is a nail biter, a coin tosser, right? And then boom, you close the election, and this is, next slide will show us what the New York Times was calling with, I think, 93% of the votes in. Van Epps was 52.4, Behn was 46.5. Van Epps beat her by roughly 6 percentage points, right? 3 times what the poll a week earlier had been showing. It wasn't close, 6%. It was closer than what Trump won in 2024, right? But it wasn't close. It was not a close election. So Democrats are making a big deal about we swung it from 22 to 6 or whatever. We swung it 13 points to the left. My point is we lost. we lost in a world where Trump is assassinating people in international waters, in a world where Trump is openly pushing Russian-developed peace plans for Ukraine, in a world where Trump has leveled parts of the historic White House, in a world where Trump is not releasing the Epstein files, and we know he and his Epstein class people are in it, in this world that Republicans can still pull off a major victory, 52, 53 to 40, 46, 45, whatever it winds up being the difference. That's pretty significant. In that world, I think Democrats should be cautious about where we go for 2026, because clearly there are a lot of Republicans who haven't budged yet. And if they haven't budged today, if they hadn't budged last week, what is it going to take them to budge? And so Democrats are saying, well, it's the healthcare premiums, or it's the economy, or it's, God knows what it will be. I don't know what it's going to be. And sure, this was a 13-point swing, but not every district's going to see that 13-point swing. So if we switch to the next the next slide, it shows Van Ven at the end, we are still fighting, she's saying. And I think that's the point to make. Democrats can't take anything for granted in 2026. Not one single thing. We have to keep organizing. We have to keep pushing our narrative. We have to keep pointing to Republicans as being the source of problems that Republicans are, in fact, the source of problems for. We can't just say, "Oh, this 13-point swing, that's great," because not every district's gonna go 13 points, and we're seeing that even under these extreme circumstances, you got a whole lot of people that are going to vote Republican if we can't figure out a better narrative to sell them, better reasons for them to think, man, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't vote Republican.
Right. So, I mean, if I'm looking at this, I would be like, the hard truth is that Democrats are 6 points behind right now. Forget everything else, 6 points behind, and that is not good.
Doesn't do anyone any good the day after when you lose by 6%. So you got to figure out why did you lose and figure out how to pull that 6% to you.
Well, that's a great wake up call, Craig. And so thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks a lot, Max. Talk to you soon.